Alright guys, so this is Joe94 here, and what I'm doing this time around is I'm redoing my Sega Genesis The Ooze review, because apparently when I was recording it last time, I couldn't get any of the video game's audio in, because for some odd reason, and I had to use it in the emulator, but the emulator wanted to be full blast, and yeah, I had to mute the emulator, but now I don't have to mute the emulator, because I know how to use OBS, yay! So, yeah, that's gonna more or less be better now this time around. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Alright, so exactly what is the Ooze, you might be wondering. Well, the Ooze, let's get started. The Ooze is a very late release Sega Genesis game by Sega Technical Institute. And this is the story of the Ooze. You play as Dr. Daniel Caine, or Dr. Decaying for a joke if you want to be realistic, whose file is 00Z, another joke, Dr. Daniel Caine's file is Ooze. You work at a factory. You're on your computer. I assume late at night because there's no lights. You discover Operation Omega, the corporation's plan to release a plague onto the populace. Your swine-like director discovers that you have discovered their plan. Him and some other grunts inject you with ooze. And you get flushed down the toilet. Now, I should mention that the story in the Japanese release is actually slightly different. Dr. Caine is actually the one who invents the plague, rather than discovering the plague. So, that's kind of different in the Japanese release. But yeah, you get terminated. Or do you? Because you get turned into... Dun dun dun! The Ooze! Now, you are presented with two options when you start up the game. There's start, which means start the game. And options, I already went into full detail about what options does in my other video. So, let's start the game. I'm going to show you how this game works for those of you who are new to the game. You start off in the Toxic Dump. There are 5 worlds. There's Toxic Dump, Waste Plant, Genetics Lab, Power Core, and Plague Factory. And this game is something else. Now, since you're a blob of goo, you're trying to assume your human form again by collecting all of the DNA strands. You can see them; they're not collected, so they're white blocks, or no, not blocks, like orbs on the screen. You'll find them in bonus rounds as well, and I'll try and show off what the bonus rounds are before I take control of the Ooze. Though, like, look at his expressions; he's very cartoony and over the top. I think he pretends to die at one point for one of his animations, and he shows a fist. Come on. Yep, there's the fist. The fist. I think that was a fist or whatever. But this guy controls very bizarre. Like, especially his other attack. Like this, for example. You can control him. You can maneuver him around corners. And you are a living health meter. Like, the bigger you are, the more health you have. The smaller you are, the less health you have. And you can also spit to reduce your ooze, but I don't recommend doing that. I mean, I'll show it off. It's not highly recommended that you do this, though. Except for a few bosses. That's just more health. And that's a power-up right next to it. More health, and that's DNA. I am doing very, very poorly. Which is no surprise, this game is very, very hard. I'm actually helping that enemy kill me, good lord. That is a respawn point. Get ready here, stream, by the way. Yep, that was the scream. Those guys carry laser beams laser guns rather, that will sever off parts of your ooze, and if you're not careful, they will even go for your head. Your head is your weak point, and more of those enemies. Your head is your weak point. You will die instantly if it is hit. And there I go again, being stupid. More DNA. Assimilating bad guys is fun, ladies and gentlemen. No. We assimilate again. Here's a hidden bonus area. Oh my god, I'm twitching. The ooze is twitching. Here's a bonus area. Go down here. And we kill bunny wabbits. And yes, I had to make that reference. Because why not? It's rabbit season, everyone! Now what you do here, assuming that you can do that in one go. Come on. It's hard. Believe me, it's hard. I'm not gonna make it! No, I don't think I made it. Normally you would get DNA, I die, but I don't think it's gonna show up. Like, I don't think it's gonna register. Yeah, it doesn't register. You have to exit the level to get it. You have to exit the level for it to be registered. And that is dumb. You can't go back once you exit that, by the way. Once you exit, it is closed for good. Oh, that was so close. Explosive enemies are very, very dangerous. They sever off a lot of your ooze. Stupid tentacle monster thingy. And that's the first level of the Ooze. First part of Toxic Dump. So yeah, I'm going to meet you guys in the next part of the review where we talk about the music composed by Howard Drazen. And I will see you guys there. Alright, time to talk about the soundtrack for the Ooze, composed by Howard Drazen, who used a sound font that we know as Gems. And wow. Now, according to an interview that I had with him, not in person, like on Facebook, he had told me that he actually had a lot more fun composing for the Ooze rather than the game that he's most well known for, which is Comic Zone. And it really, really shows. And it's kind of sad that this game doesn't get a lot of recognition for its soundtrack and its gameplay, because this game has an amazing soundtrack. I'm going to show off the options theme, among other tracks. Especially the options theme. It's so good. Starting with the options theme, which has a random burp sound effect. I don't know why. This is where everything really kicks in, though. It's awesome. Like, it's insanely good, the options theme. And as per usual of every video game, every level 1 theme must be insanely good. I present to you Talk is Done Parts 1 and 2. You've heard that in the very first part, well, the second part of the review, the gameplay part of the review, but here it is in its entirety. And here comes the breakdown. That's the track in its entirety. It just loops. The bonus level stage theme is really good too. Most people don't hear that in its entirety, so I'm going to play that. I absolutely love this part coming up. I love that instrument so much. Yeah, it just loops. That's that track in its entirety as well. Waste Plant parts 1, 2, and 3 are really good. Here's parts 1 and 2. Wasteland Part 3. Oh, guys, that conclusion story. It's so good. It's amazing. I love that. What even is that? Like a chime? It's so good. Like an 8-bit chime noise. Like, it's so good. It adds the layer of spookiness. It's insanely good. Genetics Lab Parts 1 and 2 is like this Oddly enough, it's like a bizarre rock ballad from what I've heard people compare it to, if anything. It's actually really, really good. Here comes the remix of Talking Dumb. It's so good. Here it comes again. It's insanely good. And then Power Core parts 1 and 2 almost sounds ambient. Like, if you know what I mean. I'll play it. Talking Dumb. And Power Core and Plague Factory Parts 3. Oh my god, so good. Like, I'm really surprised that someone's never covered this. Like, there's sort of a cover called, what was it called? Grime and Vengeance. It's a compilation, not a compilation. It's more or less a mashup of Waste Plan Part 3 and Power Core and Plague Factory Part 3. It's really good. I'll leave a link to it in the description of the video. But please go listen to it. I don't own it. It's somebody else's. But please go listen to it. It's insanely good. And of course, Plague Factory Parts 1 and 2 also has a really great theme. This is the final area of the game. and then because I really have to make a point here, the most obvious one that I've pointed out is soundcode unused soundcode 0B. The unused credits theme, which also has a random burping sound effect to it. Don't know why. I wonder if it was improvised or something like that. I've said before, I'll say again, this was never used in the final game. It was going to be planned. It was planned to be used in the final game, but it ultimately got scrapped. It's only used in the debugging menu option. By going from the debug menu and then choosing credits from the debug menu, that is the only way that you can find it in the credits. That is the only legitimate way of finding it. Here comes the burping sound effect, by the way. In 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I don't know why that's there. I wonder if it was improvised. But yeah, that's a pretty good soundtrack overall. It's kind of a crime that not a lot of people cover it. Like, again, there's that Grime and Vengeance cover. That's kind of the only cover I've found on YouTube. Link will be down in the description for that. So yeah, we're moving on to the final part of the review, which is how it holds up overall, the Ooze. And let's see exactly if and how it holds up. I will see you guys then. Alright, so final thoughts here. What do I think about the Ooze? So, it may be difficult at times, if not all the times. It really ramps up at Waste Plant, especially the boss. But I feel like the game can be fair at some points. Like, it starts off with a semi-hard boss in Toxic Dump Part 3. And that's just my overall experiences with the Ooze. I've never beaten the game all the way to the end. I've seen a lot of gameplay footage of it though, and I watched one of my friends on Twitch stream it recently. He had an absolute nightmare playing the game, and I feel absolutely terrible that I requested that game for him. Like, I feel so bad. But anyway, my overall thoughts on the game as a whole is that it's a hidden gem that needs more love, more respect, and it's criminally underrated. While there are some, I'm not sure if you would call them cheap moments in the game, like some enemies can hit you from off screen. That might just be poor programming on developers' part. I'm not sure what you would call that. And some enemies will only attack you if you help them, like the tentacles in Toxic Zone Parts 1 and 2, and the face hugger things in the face hugger things in what was it? Yeah, Genetics Lab Parts 1 and 2. And spoilers, the final boss is the director. The director has lasers, and the lasers in the game, for anyone who's familiar with the Ooze can have its body severed by any kind of laser beam, and that can be a huge problem because, like I've said before, you are a living health meter. And being a living health meter means that the more health you have, the bigger you are, and the less health you have, the smaller you are. And the game takes advantage of this by having, I think they're rods or something that you need to latch onto to get around corners. I mean, yes, using your tendril punch thingy or whatever is also good for punching switches or hitting enemies from around safety. But does the game hold up by Genesis standards, or by any standards really? Yes and no. It's aged really well in some sense, and some people think it doesn't age very gracefully. I'm in the category where I think that it has aged pretty gracefully in terms of the soundtrack and the graphics. Like, it's graphically pretty impressive for the Genesis, but that's just me. I know a friend, and this video is for my friend StarCreep83. This remake is for you. We're both geeks about the Ooze. Like, we both love this game a lot. And my final thoughts are, it's a really great game. Like, sure, it gets difficult, but it's fair in the way that's difficult. Like, I know that you can get hit in the skull, and that's kind of like your weak point. But you have a bunch of ooze surrounding you. Like, look at this right here in the demo. You have a bunch of ooze to start off with. That's because you're a living health meter, and you can spit to reduce your ooze, but you want to do it sparingly, not all the time. And that tendril attack you're seeing right now, that's a very useful attack to attack enemies and hit switches around corners. But overall, I'd say it's a pretty good hidden gem. And it's kind of sad there's not a lot of people who talk about it. Like, it really needs more love, and it's very sad that it was lost to the sands of time. You'll find it on some, I think, almost every collection that has Sega Genesis games on it. Oddly enough, it's never been released on Steam to my knowledge. Like, I've never seen it be released on Steam, which is a cry and shame. Oh man, I just love this game so much. I know it has flaws. It has a lot of flaws, like the way that the ooze gets hit in the skull and dies instantly, and the way that you can die in other ways, like falling down ramps into pools of toxic waste. I still understand that one. Like, you are toxic waste. How do you die if you fall into toxic waste? Unless you get like evaporated into like, unless you dissolve into another massive toxic waste or something. And there's a bunch of holes in Genetics Lab parts 1 and 2 where you can fall down and you will lose a lot of your ooze. There's a lot of holes, a lot of drains in Plague Factory parts 1 and 2. I think especially in the final boss level in part 3. And oh man, I just love this game so much. I know there's a cult following for it. Me and StarCreep83 are part of that cult following. But if you really want to give yourself a challenging game, I recommend picking this one up as a cartridge. I can recommend this one semi-wholeheartedly, and you can find it for roughly, if you want to get it used, you can probably buy it at, I'd say, either $3 to $4 used. Brand new, it's gonna be a nightmare to obtain. Brand new on like eBay and stuff like that, I think just eBay, it's $75. And it was also released in Europe and Japan. Japan and Europe have different box arts, like vastly different box arts. Well, the picture on the European copy is it's not different. The back of the box is slightly different in terms of the way it describes the game. But anyway, if you want to give yourself something that's post-apocalyptic and has that 90s look to it, and that 90s theme to it, like almost like a B-movie feel to it actually, then I really would recommend this game. So anyway, this is Earthworm Jim 94 signing out. See you guys next time.